Hi everybody. So this is our next lesson for trigonometry. We are going to be finding the side of a right triangle. So before we were using trig to find the angle, now we're going to find the side. All right, so let's do a quick review. How do you find this missing side? If I call that x. It's a right triangle and we have two sides. So that's Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Remember, your hypotenuse is your c. The other two are your a and your b. So I'm going to do x squared plus 20 squared equals 22 squared. 20 squared is 400. Let's see, 22 squared. Don't know that one off the top of my head. 484. I'm going to minus 400 on both sides. X squared is 84. Then I'm going to take the square root. So I get x equals the square root of 84. But remember, notice the directions. Simplify your answer. So I don't want the decimal. I want to simplify my radical. So remember how we did this? We're going to write down everything that multiplies to 84. So 84 is 1 times 84, 2 times 42, 3 times 28, 4 times 21, 5 doesn't work, 6 times 14, 7 times 12, I think that's it, 8, 9, 10, 11, nope, that's it. All right, so now I'm going to look for my perfect square. So 4 is the only perfect square other than the 1. So we're going to rewrite this as 4 times 21, the square root of 4 times the square root of 21, so 2 root 21, and that's your final answer. Done. All right, so as a review, remember the most important thing to do when you're dealing with the trig problem is identifying the hypotenuse, the opposite side, and the adjacent side. So in this case, I'm dealing with angle y, right? It said y. What is the side opposite y? Right across from it. That's your opposite. The hypotenuse is your c value, right? In the Pythagorean theorem. It's always across from your right angle. It's the longest side. And the left, I always do adjacent last. That's your leftover. It's the leg next to angle y. So there's two legs. There's this side, right? That's a leg and that's a leg. Which blue leg is next to y? And it's the AB. Okay, so I filled this out for you. I just want you to write the ratios. So in this problem, we're dealing with angle B, right? So we know that because all the problems have sine of B, cosine of B, tangent of B. So you have to pay attention to that. So pause the video and label your triangle. So I have my hypotenuse is across from the right angle. My opposite is across from angle B. And my leftover is my adjacent. And then to fill in our triangles, we're going to use SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. So my sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Remember, the first letter is the top, the second letter is the bottom. So sine is O over H. So O is 5, H is 10. 5 over 10. And you can simplify that to 1/2. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, right? Adjacent over hypotenuse. So that's 5 root 3 over 10, which simplifies to root 3 over 2. And then lastly, opposite over adjacent. 5 opposite over adjacent. 5 over 5 root 3. That simplifies. You can divide the top and bottom by 5. If we divide by 5, we get 1 over root 3. And this is why I taught you how to rationalize the denominator. Multiply the top and bottom by root 3. And our final answer is root 3 over 3. Right? That was the purpose of that lesson. Now it says find the measure of angle B. So pick any of the problems that you just solved. I'm going to use sine because it looks like it's going to be the easiest. Sine of B equals 1/2. So to find the measure of the angle, B is stuck inside those parentheses. To get rid of the parentheses, we need to use the inverse. The inverse of sine is sine minus 1. Sine minus 1. So sine and sine minus 1 cancel each other out. So B equals sine minus 1 of 1/2. And then we're going to plug that in the calculator. So if you forgot how to do this, rewatch my video using Desmos. And I get 30 degrees. So that actually has a nice number. Okay, same idea. But these, we're not going to find all three ratios. We're just going to, and we don't even have to do Pythagorean theorem. We're just going to use the information we have to solve for x. So, and this is how we're going to do most problems. So, given a triangle, you want to look, which sides do I have? Well, x is the angle I care about. Across from it is my opposite. Across from the right angle is my hypotenuse. Whatever's left over is my adjacent. Now, which one do we not have any information about? Hypotenuse. So I'm going to cross that off. So look at the sides that I have. I have my adjacent side, my A, and my O. So if we look at, okay, it would be helpful if I was on a pen and not a highlighter. All right, so if I have TOA, which of the three involves the A and the O? The A and the O is tangent, right? TOA, O, and A. So that tells me I'm going to use tangent. I'm going to use tan. Tan of x equals opposite over hypotenuse, 18 over 6. We don't have any information about the hypotenuse, so we can't use sine because sine involves hypotenuse and cosine involves hypotenuse. So I'm going to do the inverse. So x equals tan minus 1 of 18 over 6, which is just 3. I'm going to plug that in my calculator, and I get 71.6 degrees. Okay, so I want you to pause the video and do the second one on your own. So again, I look at what's the angle I care about. I care about angle x. This side over here is our opposite. Across from my right angle is my hypotenuse. My leftover is my adjacent. Now I'm going to cross off the side that I don't care about. I have nothing on the opposite, right? There's no number, there's no letter, there's nothing there. Cross it off. Look at what's left. I'm left with my adjacent and my hypotenuse. So I have my hypotenuse and I have my adjacent. So I'm going to look into SOHCAHTOA. Which one involves H and A? That's your CA, right? CA is H and A. So that means we're using cosine. Cosine of x equals A over H. My A is 8. My H is 17. I'm going to do my inverse. So cosine minus 1 of 8 over 17. I'm going to put that in my calculator. Second, cosine 8 over 17. And I get 61.9 degrees. And we are finished. So this same process of identifying two sides, crossing one out, is what we're going to be doing from now on. All right, so now this one we're actually going to find a side. Now look at this triangle. Why can't we just do Pythagorean theorem? Well, with Pythagorean theorem, you need two sides. Do we have two sides? No, we only have 19.7. We don't have enough information to do Pythagorean theorem. We would need we would need a second side, but we only have the 19.4. All right, so same process as that last problem. I'm going to circle my angle. My angle is 67, and I'm going to label my triangle. Across from my angle is our opposite. Across from my angle given, my right angle, is my hypotenuse. Whatever's left over is my adjacent. All right, so look at the triangle. Which one has nothing next to it? So while the opposite has an X. So even though we don't know the information, we still know that's part of the problem. So we're going to cross off the hypotenuse. So that means we're left with our adjacent and our opposite. Which of the three involves AO? AO is right there. So that means we're using tan. Tangent of equals. Tangent of our angle. Remember, the inside is always your angle, so 67 equals opposite over adjacent. Now, I know this one looks a little scary, but I promise it's not that bad. So I'm going to put tan of 67 in my calculator, and I'm going to get a decimal. And I'm going to put 3 decimals. 2.356 equals x over 19.4. Now, how do you solve for x here? Well, the easy way, I'm just going to put the fraction over 1, and we're going to cross multiply. 1 times x is x, and then 19.4 times 2.356 is 45.7. So, and now this is not degrees. We just found the side, right? And we're done. Now, I put 3 decimals with the 2.356 because if you put only 1, your answer might be off by a lot. So we want to be as accurate as possible. So that's why I always put 3 decimals. All right, I'm going to do one more with you, and then number 7 you're going to do on your own. So let's write SOHCAHTOA down again, just so we have it somewhere. I'm going to write it down here. SOHCAHTOA. All right, let's label our triangle. So I always start at my angle given. Across from that is my opposite. Across from my right angle is my hypotenuse. My leftover is my adjacent. Now I have no information where the adjacent is. Cross that off. What sides do I have? I have my O and I have my H. Which trig ratio involves O and H? That's your sine. So we're going to do sine of equals. So sine of what? Sine of the angle, my angle is 55, equals opposite over hypotenuse. And again, we're going to find the decimal. Now, what you can do also is we can actually do this all in one shot. We don't have to find the decimal right away. So what I actually usually do it this way. So 1 times x is x. 28 times sine of 55. Now, do not multiply 55 and 28. Do not multiply 55 and 28. Do not multiply 55 and 28. That 55 is stuck inside that parentheses, kind of like with a square root. It's stuck in there. It can't come out. So we're just going to put the 28 in front. And you can put this whole thing in your calculator in one shot, which is nice. It's a little less work. So I got 22.9. And again, this is not degrees. We just found the side of the triangle. Pause the video and try number 7 on your own. So I've got my 45 degrees, opposite, across from my right angle is my hypotenuse, and I have my adjacent. Now I do not know my adjacent, there's nothing there, cross that off. So I have my O, and I have H. O and H. Oh, this is the exact same problem. O and H. Oopsies. Just turn my pen off. All right, so that means sine again. sine of 45 equals opposite over hypotenuse. I'm going to cross multiply. X equals 56 sine of 45. Remember, we cannot multiply the 45 and 56. So 56 sine of 45, put that in my calculator, and I get 39.6. And we are done. All right, I want you to pause the video and set this problem up. This one is a little harder, so just set it up. Just find, is it sine, is it cosine, is it tangent? What's happening here? All right, so we have our 22 degrees. These are all sine. Why are all of these sine? So this is a poorly written lesson, guys. Opposite. All right, we do not have adjacent again. So when you don't have adjacent, that's your sine, SOA, right? Opposite hypotenuse. So sine of 22 equals 7 over x. Now, here's what's harder about this one. What do you notice? In this problem, the x is in the denominator. So if we cross multiply, 1 times 7 is 7. X times sine of 22 is x sine of 22. So we didn't solve for x yet. What is the x and the sine doing? They are multiplying. What's the opposite of multiplying? Dividing. So we're going to divide both sides by sine of 22. So now in my calculator, we're going to put 7 divided by sine of 22. 18.7. And that's it. All right, I'm changing this next one because that's a sine again, and that's really obnoxious. So we are going to move the 37. That's super annoying that I did that. Let's put 37 here so the problem's different. 3 sines in a row is obnoxious. All right, so I moved my 37. So pause the video now and do this one. So I have my opposite. I have my hypotenuse. And my adjacent. All right, so in this one, we don't have the opposite. Which one involves the A and the H? That's your cosine. So cosine of 37 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So follow the same procedure as we did in number 8. I'm going to cross multiply. 1 times 42 is 42. X times cosine of 37 is just x cosine of 37. Divide by cosine of 37. X equals 42 divided by cosine of 37. And I can put that whole thing in the calculator. I get 52.6. And that is your answer. All right, we got one more, and it's a word problem, but I promise it's an easy word problem. So the nice thing, we're actually going to do a bunch of word problems next week. Here's the great thing. It's a word problem, but it came with a picture, and the picture's already labeled and everything. So that's a nice thing about this. From a point on the ground, 47 feet from the foot of a tree, the angle of elevation of the top of the tree is 35. So angle of elevation is this angle. They already labeled it. It's like the angle made to the top of the tree. Find the height of the tree. So they labeled, it's literally not a real word problem, right? They gave us everything we needed. So pause the video, label, solve for x. So we have our opposite, our hypotenuse, and our adjacent. We do not have anything with the hypotenuse side, so that means we're using O and A. So, nope, that one has an H in it. That one has an H in it. TOA. So we're using the T for tan. tan of my angle equals tan of 35 inside the triangle, inside the parentheses, O over A. Order matters. The O goes on top, the A goes on the bottom. And now this is back to one of the easier ones. We just cross multiply. 1 times x is x. 47 tan of 35. Plug that in the calculator, and I get 47 tan 35. Enter. 32.9. And again, that is not an angle. That is the height of the tree. And we are finished. All right, homework 90. This is due on Wednesday. Tomorrow on Tuesday, we will do a chat to Google Meet to talk about this topic, and you can ask me questions. All right, have a great day, guys. Bye.